Good morning. My name is Justyna Tarajko-Kowalska. I'm an architect working in Krakow University of Technology, Faculty of Architecture, Krakow, Poland. Today I would like to share with you my presentation titled Architectural Color Games in Public Space. According to the famous Le Corbusier definition, architecture is the learned game, correct and magnificent, of forms assembled in light. Then he writes that the task of the architect is to liven up surfaces covering those forms. Color, which Le Corbusier called daughter of light, becomes nowadays one of the most important elements of that game, architecture, and is often used in the composition of public spaces as a dynamic means of expression, emphasizing forms and attracting the observer's eye. Color games in the architectural space can be played in many ways. This may be architectural interplay of colors, when color acts the key role in the whole composition. Color can be also used by architect as an element of the conscious game with spectator. Finally, color can become the game itself, a part of the experiment, architectural happening in the space, or simply a representative of the fun and game aesthetics. In the contemporary architecture, many architects place the color games. In such games, color is no more treated as an additional element. In contrary, it plays the main role, becoming an integral part of the overall composition. Carefully planned interplay of the colors, light, textures and shapes, as well as their connections and interpenetration, intensify emotional and aesthetical experiences of the observer. It is not surprise that to achieve those effects, architects use not a single one color, but many colors. Thus, we have polychromatic spaces, which examples we may observe in next slides, like the space in Benidorm, Spain, or that market, an open center for citizen activities in Cordoba, Spain, or this very well-known example of Park of the Three Colors, Superkillen, in Copenhagen, Denmark, designed by Peak, Topotec One, and Superflex. Colorfulness of the nature translated into architectonic language is often an inspiration for the polychromatic color games. We may observe it in this example of the Ceramic Museum and Mosaic Park project by Casanova and Hernandez architects in China. Museum's facade, benches and pavements of the park are covered with ceramic tiles, which color palette was obtained from the local flora. Also here in the project of Markthal Rotterdam in Rotterdam, designed by famous architect office MVRTV in the Netherlands, we also observe colors which have source in the market itself. Here, polychromatic spaces also have a symbolic meaning, presented as 18 Nuances de Guy by artist and architect Cormier Claude in Montreal, Canada. Here, Nike basketball court Pigalle in Paris, France, is also a kind of a beautiful space connected with Nike shoes and Nike sport collection image, which is a kind of advertisement. You may also check that today this space is colored differently according to the different style of the sport collection by Nike. Almost at the opposite end of the multicolored game, this polychromatic spaces, is situated one color game, monochromatic spaces, where one leading hue, one color attributed to very special role is used in composition. In many cases, this color is red, maybe because it is somehow symbolically connected with the red carpet symbolic, or maybe simply because it's very well visible in the space. Nevertheless, here we have two examples of this red color used almost exclusively in the whole composition. This is Garskip Link in Glasgow, Scotland, or this space which I believe you know, Stadtlounge, designed by Carlos Martinez and artist Pipilotti Rist in St. Gallen, Switzerland. But of course, not only red color is used in monochromatic spaces. Here, very beautiful, very little space, urban living room designed exclusively in one color, RAL 5015, which was presented in many towns around Europe, Rotterdam, Istanbul, Barcelona, Madrid, by artist Eddie Kaiser. Here another color, yellow, to cover roofs of public space, second home, co-working space designed in Los Angeles in 2019. Here, totally different effect, almost totally white, grayish space made of concrete. We may say a big sculpture in a space, Square Depression, Quadratische Senkung by artist Bruce Naumann in Münster, Germany. As I said, color also can be seen as an element of the game played with the spectator. Based on the properties of the physiological effect of color, architect can regulate the color climate of the building or a space in a planned and consistent way, thus introducing the viewer into the desired mood. Therefore, it is possible to direct color effects consciously, to elicit specific emotional associations, as well as to create color compositions conducive to different feelings, according to the specific function of a space or a building. Through the choice of a specific set of colors, architect always attempts to create a certain relationship with space users. Consequently, color becomes an element of the conscious game played with viewer, specific actor in architectonic performance. Characteristics of that game can be very dynamic, especially when the spectator is changing the color perception by changing his position in the space. This may be very easily translated by this project, Chameleon Cabin, by Architecter Sweden, because by changing our position in the space, we also see different colors of that small cabin, small house. Here we are a bit surprised by this very red hole in the installation I Was Born, designed in Kobe, Japan. Here also surprised by this bridge no bridge of this installation simulacrum in Portugal. Thanks to the visual union between color, light, and media techniques, it is also possible to create the interactive games between the viewer and the building or space, when the color changes are dependent on actions undertaken by the users. Then the color becomes a reflection of a real game. In my opinion, the best example to show this kind of game played with spectator in that way is Allianz Arena, designed by Herzog de Meuron in München, Germany. Stadium outer cover can be illuminated independently in three colors, white, blue, and red, or a kind of a mixture of them, as you can see. The intention of the architects was the change of the stadium color during the football game, depending on the club colors of the respective local team. FC Bayern, red color, or TSV 1960, blue color, or white when the local German team plays. Also, as you can see, different color compositions are also possible, including German flag. As I said, color can be also a game. So color is treated by some architects as a game per se. Thus, the architectural space becomes the field of artistic and chromatic experiments. Of course, it is not surprise that usually we meet that type of color use in installations, in temporary installations in that space, because they give they give the best opportunity to use even very saturated or even shocking colors or color composition. One of the best known installation is Umbrella Sky project since 2012 around Europe and also out of the Europe, mostly presented in Portugal, but also in different cities. Or this nice safe ring designed in Berlin, Germany. Of course, color is a game for special type of artist. I would like here to mention two of them. One of them, Carlos Cruz Diez, sadly passed away in 2019. He was a Venezuelan artist of kinetic art and op art, and he realized his coloristic intervention project mostly in urban areas, especially streets, from the 60s of the 20th century till the beginning of 21st century. His extraordinary paintings inspired very oftentimes by works of Joseph Alberts, using the phenomenon of simultaneous contrast or after image, can be admired, for example, on the streets of Caracas, Fortaleza, Marseille, Miami, Houston, or Mexico City. Mexico City, actually, his last realization from 2012. Very, very beautiful. So this is the artist who really played with color and treat the color as a game itself. Another artist, pretty young, Olafur Eliasson, is the one of the most intrinsic contemporary visual artists, known for his large-size sculptures and installations mostly, but he is also engaged in color experiments in space. His projects, by showing dependence that exists between light and color, make the viewer aware of his own role in the perception of the surrounding reality, as well as allow the experience changeability of the perception in time and get to know its mechanism. One of the most beautiful, in my opinion, color installations of Olafur Eliasson was Your Rainbow Panorama, possible to see for a few years on the roof of Arcus Kunstmuseum in Denmark. But Olafur Eliasson from time to time is producing other very beautiful color installations using these transparent colors, or like in the Green River project, colorizing river waters to give a very exciting effect in space. But color is not only a game for one artist, a game with spectator, can be also a collective game. I would like here to mention two actually programs, but they have the same source. Program Let's Color by AkzoNobel's brand such as Dulux, Levis or Coral since 2009 aims to create a global movement for color transformation of the human living environment by adding color or repainting of the degraded building and urban spaces. So this is kind of a social campaign having a very wide effect worldwide, may say. Americas, like especially Brazilian choral group, is responsible for the Tudo de Cor para Voce, which is also a part of the Let's Color, but for South America, conducted since 2009. And this program is meant to preserve and promote the color traditions, as well as to introduce new colors for social housing, particularly in the poorest neighborhoods. Similar action is also taken by Danish artist Jeroen Koolhaas and Dre Urhan from Haas and Han Company in Favela Painting Project in Rio de Janeiro, which is conducted since 2005. Color can be also a representative of, we may call, fun and games aesthetic. Architects often tend to choose multicolored composition to visually reflect this function of fun and games. Color palette identified with these aesthetics generally consists of the highly saturated shades with a predominance of the primary colors. Polychromatic, rainbow-colored compositions are often used in kindergartens, playgrounds, and other facilities for children and youth, with the aim to create and also reflect the atmosphere of excitement and play. This can be visible not only in the buildings of, for example, kindergartens, but also in playgrounds, especially today. Different types of surfaces, of the safe surfaces, allow to use different colors, which you may observe in those two playgrounds. This one presented here in Rotterdam, Netherlands, and the next one in Antwerpen, Belgium. Carlos Cruz Diez taught that freedom and emotions only come into play when the time comes to choose and combine the colors. According to the famous Dutch architect Rem Koolhaas, 21st century color is no longer just the thin, decorative layer disposed on the building or in space. Rather, it is the strong means of expression that helps to reshape the space as well as to change the visual status of an object. In the world when everything is changing, the role of color also has to change. It cannot be longer just an added feature, but it must become the exponent of the idea of movement and variability, the element of the game. Thank you very much for your attention and have a good time on the celebration of color event. Thank you once again. Goodbye.